David. They told me it'd be loud and merengue. They were right when David showed up. My clubhouse seems to be full of David right now. And I expect him to have that smile as often as possible so he can light up our clubhouse and our dugout. Hoping to swing the bat the way he did last year. Don't know if he can hit left-handers equally as well as I hope he can. Provide some leadership, provide some experience, and put some fear into the hearts of the opposing pitchers.
Bobby, speaking of hitting against left-handers, did you see, what evidence did you see of changes in his approach last year? Because he did have success against lefties.
Well, that'd be difficult for me to answer because I would have had to see him the year before, and I didn't do that. I saw most of his at-bats from last year, and to say what the difference was, I don't know. I saw last year he had very good plate selection, pitch selection at the plate. I saw him patient on with his selection process, and I saw him confident on the inside fastball.
Bobby, why did you make it a point right after you were hired to go down there and visit him at the Garden Scout tournament? Was it just the timing of it, or?
Yeah, I heard about it walking down the aisle that Tito wasn't going to make it, and it was walking down it wasn't the aisle, it was the hallway. The aisle is like when you get married, right? I was walking down the hallway, and someone said, "Hey, tomorrow is the golf tournament. What do you think about going?" I guess it was a couple of Dominican reporters that were there. And I said, "I'd love to go." When I said that, Larry said, "You want to go?" I'm playing. And I said, I went. Didn't have anything else to do. And, part of Ben's selection process and during our interview process was he thought there was a bit of a need to reach out to some of the players. So I had a press conference and figured it's time to start. But if it was the next week, that's probably when I would have gone down.
But in that last few years, both the Yankees and the Red Sox have been great, waiting out pitches and getting the right pitch ahead. Do you agree with that philosophy?
Absolutely. For us,
yeah.
I hope they change. Yeah.
And do you think it's beneficial for the offense?
Yeah, I think if you could, of course, hitters can't hit all pitchers' pitches, but pitchers are anything but perfect. So if you can follow off the good ones and hit the bad ones, you have a pretty good chance of success. And, if you do that 3 out of 10 times, I guess everyone credits you as a great hitter.
Bobby, what do you think, in your opinion, would improve the pace of games in baseball?
The pace or the length?
Both. How about the length?
The length, I think that a real easy situation is to limit the number of times the catcher can go to the mound and limit the number of times the pitching coach or the manager can go to the mound. Right now we have twice per inning. I think it's ridiculous. It should be twice per game, per pitcher. I think, for a guy to go to the mound in the first inning, I hope we never do it. Lord, don't let it happen. But, if you didn't get it done before the game, first inning is, I just don't get all that. I don't get why, and I told my catchers, I don't get why a reliever comes into the game and everyone's standing at the mound and then you warm them up for 8 pitches and then the catcher runs out the mound and tell them what sign he is. I mean, what is that? So I think that all that traffic should be eliminated as much as possible. It's unnecessary, I think. And if you only have twice per game per pitcher, you definitely would save one, knowing that, you might have to go out and talk to them, so half the time you won't go out at all in the whole game. Twice per.
How about the batters coming in and out of the box?
Well,
is this something they need to do, or rhythm, or?
Yeah, that's as far as the pace of the game is concerned. There's probably a little more time before he gets in that most people are concerned with, rather than time after the at-bat starts. I think, it's shorten the songs and get in the back box a little quicker, and have some kind of if there's going to be a rule, it must be enforceable. So I don't know how you do that. Enforce the other one really easily. And then the other little stuff that never should happen, I feel, is timeout to get clean. I remember many times sliding and then running the third with a dirty uniform. You slide in second, timeout, walk out in center field so you can dust yourself off. I don't get it. But
Bobby, with Ortiz, a number of teams have taken the approach that they like to keep flexibility for their DH spot in order to rest various guys. To what degree, in a vacuum would you like to have that flexibility, and why is what I guess makes David such a force that is not a consideration?
All right, when you don't have a great DH, then you say, hey, I really like the DH spot so I can move my players in and out of the DH. When you have a great DH, you really think it's a great force that you can apply to your lineup. And David's a great DH, first off. The idea of flexibility, does allow the lineup to use that as a half-off day maybe, or however we call it. I think when guys need off days, a lot of times it's a mental off day that they need, and I'm not so sure DH is exactly what they need. So in the best of all worlds, I want to have a DH. It was a 3-year experiment when I was playing in '74, I guess. Is that when it started?
73.
Right, 73. That's when I came back, After I came back, so, we should either make it permanent or get rid of it. I think the experiment's had enough time.
Both leagues, Bobby? It should be in both leagues, do you think? If they're going to have it?
I guess.
Are you going to miss those double switches and that intrigue and all that? Or?
I don't know. No, I managed in the American League in Japan, so that's what I'm most used to.
When you look at your leaders, you talked about David being a leader, Bobby. What do you want out of your leaders on a daily basis? I guess, do you rely on them a lot, or?
Yeah, I rely on them a lot.
In what sense do you want?
I want them to understand the difference between right and wrong, and for those who are confused, to put them on the right pace.
Are you going to have a captain?
And I mean, that could just be what that pitcher is going to throw that day,
Right.
Hey, no, he doesn't use the curveball anymore. If it comes from a leader, you guys going to believe that.
Are you going to have a captain?
Has he showed up yet?
Are you going to have one?
If Veritek doesn't show up?
Yes.
I haven't planned on that. If the team thinks the captain's a cool thing, I think that could be considered. It's not like I don't think a captain's necessary. And then again, I don't know that it's so necessary that you can't live without it.
You have people in mind?
Who was the captain last year at St. Louis? They didn't have one. All right, so you can win a world championship without a captain.
Bobby, you talk about your bag order in terms of groupings. Last year, Ellsbury had the type of numbers, particularly the production numbers, that would suggest he could hit lower in the order. 3-hole type hitter. Would that be a consideration for you this year? I mean, how do you best see Ellsbury helping your club in the order?
Again, it's hard for me to just say how one person fits into a grouping. The idea, the concept of Ellsbury, what you're saying is that someone who has as many extra base hits as he had last year, if he was going to duplicate that, the only thing we can define is that in 162 games, he would definitely hit 162 times with no one on base if he was the leadoff hitter. That's the only thing that we can define, and that has to be considered, I guess, if in fact we wanted to give him a chance to have those 162 with someone that he could drive in with an extra base hit.